get behind his leg, just like you did.
Mm-hmm. And then throw it.
And reap him out. If I reap him out this way. You know, so it's not about strength or nothing.
It's the concept.
Just get his body moving with you. Use his energy again.
I know you want to throw that kick over there.
Alright, the other non-strength attitude. Alright, he's locking. See, I'm locking my chin. But this is his hold. He don't have nothing here. See? He don't have nothing here. Everything is over here. Okay? Get your leverage. Alright? He's doing that. You lock. Disturbs. Distract. Move.
Yeah. Mobilize. Voice.
You got more in here. Yes, come here.
Oh.
You going into the down to it.
That's the fact it's nice. Shake it. Because you want to lift you up. You know? Okay. I want to move toward you, right?
Yeah.
First chance, we will take it's a murder.
Ferry, I pulled me back, man. Come again. Come again. Whoa. So, your turn.
My name is Emory M Moore Jr. and this is Exercise and Movement Technique, and today I have the pleasure of being in Flatbush section of Brooklyn with two gentlemen who I respect and admire, Master Livingston Kelly and Master Everton Kelly.
Good to meet you, sir.
Good to meet you. Good to see you again. So, Master, what does that mean really? I know you guys have multiple degrees in the martial arts, so let's just cut to what have you studied? What have you studied and how long have you studied? The short version, because I know we'll be here all day.
Well, I've studied Kyokushin karate
Okay.
for a number of years.
Was that the beginning? Is that the first
That's
start?
in the beginning, original system.
Okay. And how old were you when you started?
I think it was about 13.
Okay. And keep going.
And then there was a time when Kyokushin had broke away and changed to Seido. So
Okay.
at that point, we felt that we didn't want to follow Kyokushin at that time to Seido. So we started to practice Jeet Kune Do and other Kung Fu styles.
Okay. And then from there, I know you got more.
And then from there, the combination of the Kyokushin and the Kung Fu styles, you know, blend into an art form we call the Wushikiru martial arts system.
Okay.
And then I traveled to the United States. I was fighting on the tournament circuit until I found Professor Duncan.
And what style is that?
That's Kogaru Ninjutsu,
Okay.
under the ways of the wind systems.
Of which we're all familiar.
And I pretty much fell in love with what he was doing at the time. Serious, bushy warrior system, and I was with him until his last days. That's over 20 years.
Okay. And what about you, sir?
Well, I basically started with Kyokushin around the same time as Master Livingston did. I think it was in 1971 when we started with Kyokushin. And when they broke off, we all went our ways and studied Kung Fu, as he said, and then they developed the Wushin Kido martial arts system, which we practiced until I came here in 1990 when I met Professor Duncan. And from there on out, I started to study on and off with Professor Duncan's system when they were in Queens Village, which is a Kogaru Ninjutsu system. And it reaches a point where we stopped training in a dojo and then we started to do backyard stuff with Professor Duncan.
Okay.
And that was where we so-called our finishing school. And we continued there until, he passed on. But whatever we were learning there continues to be a power in our system.
EMT, massage therapy, personal training, and senior certificate. I know that's where I believe.
Exercise program.
In exercise program, I believe that's where I actually met you guys when I had my studio, and you were working at the senior center.
Right.
So that's an interesting combination. To be working with the elderly and also to have such a high level, I think, of proficiency in certain martial arts. So how do you think that your proficiency in martial arts, does it bleed over into what you do in your professions?
The thing that bleeds over is the idea of being able to use your inner strength to build on external stuff and to give advice based on exercise and that, but not the martial arts itself is what you have achieved from practicing the martial arts over time. That type of discipline and how to attack a problem comes down into an everyday situation.
Well, it's interesting to me that you work with the elderly, which I actually enjoy doing too. A lot of people don't like working with the elderly. I find it very rewarding, and actually it's wonderful because they have a lot to give back as students because of their advice and the things that they've gone through. So you have a modified program?
Yes, what you need to do working with seniors, especially the population which is 60 and over, that is membership of senior centers in the city, is that your programs have to be designed based on the comorbidities that these seniors present to. The illnesses that they have include cardiac and otherwise. You have to modify the program so that they enjoy it and get benefits as well. So every program you do, you gotta modify. I teach a yoga program for them. I teach a spin and exercise program together where I have spin bikes for them and they do, 15 minutes on a spin bike, then they come down and we do, a mix of yoga and stretching exercises on the mat and finish their hour. And sometimes I go 45 minutes to an hour, it depends on how they feel, because sometimes they do get tired and you have to respect that. And I also do like blood pressure monitoring. I used to do blood sugar monitoring and stuff for them, and so they get this respect. I get this respect from them that they put their health in my hands.
Sure.
So when they need to go to the doctor and I say, look, you need to go to the doctor because your blood pressure or your blood sugar is out of whack, they actually don't question. They just go straight to the doctor.
Sure, they respect yours.
Sometimes I call the ambulance to get them.
I see.
To go to the ER based on.
Well, that's why that's a unique blend in his aspect, because he has the EMT and all that stuff.
Sure.
But on my side, I'm the personal trainer, martial arts teacher, senior fitness, and in kids martial arts stuff. So he's furthermore on another gamut, and I am like seniors and kids, and without the other medical section that he's in. So it's a unique blend that we have to offer differently.
Well, I think it's great that you're working with older people, and I think that modifications with exercise have to be done for any population. I think part of what I see out there is that people are just doing a one-size-fits-all, especially with particular tapes or workouts that people are doing, where they're doing a particular kind of workout, and some of them very hardcore kinds of training.
Yeah, you got it.
And you don't know what the background is. In fitness that today, what I found interesting is I know the training that you've gone through is pretty hardcore in terms of what an average person or even some military personnel may have not have gone through such a rigorous training because of what it means to do some of those arts. And I see that some of that training is bleeding into the training that you would see people doing that they think they're doing for their health. And I say think because I know that when you're training in the martial arts, you're training in dance, you're training in these other disciplines, there's an end goal. You're doing these things to learn. I just watched you gentlemen break coconuts with your bare hands, which unfortunately I couldn't get on the camera, but next time. And I mean, you're obviously able to display skills that ordinary people don't have. But I feel that not understanding the body, not paying attention to the body, and just training hard for hard's sake seems to be the trend.
I think training in the martial arts kind of sets you up to control mind, body, and spirit. And there's some time that you have to practice, training the body, and then there's another time when you have to take yourself away and train the mind. And that's how the whole training concept comes when you're teaching kids and older,
Sure.
special population, because then learning limitations and different stuff and how to interact with people, because it's not just about the fitness part, it's about interaction, learning about that person, find out what their capabilities are and what their weaknesses are, and then we work from that.
What kinds of things do you do with the children?
Well, at the Y, recently the Y has really cut out the kind of sparring stuff for the kids, so it's kind of hard to change karate without teaching sparring, but then I found a way to teach them how to be better at themselves. In other words, I remember that the word kung fu meant anything well done. So when I'm teaching them, I'm telling them, everything that you learn is supposed to transcend in your schoolwork, the daily way where you live,
Sure.
and everywhere you do, everything that you do. And so I'm using the martial arts not just for fighting, but just to build character and build
Right.
self, and to be, perfection in oneself.
Which is the original intention of the
Right.
martial arts. Aside from war and winning, which was at certain times necessary, obviously, because if you don't survive, then you can't survive. But beyond that, when people were in societies and flourishing, it was for self-development. It
Right.
is for self-development. That's what the art part comes in
That's
on the
right.
end of the martial. Otherwise, it would just be war
This war, right?
all the time, and so.
It's a
That's not
self-development.
necessarily healthy. So you're training the seniors, you're training yourself. What do you look for at this point? Because the title master is an interesting title, right? Because people look up to you, they come to you, they see you as a teacher, but they also see you as a figure that's almost larger than life, right? Particularly with the martial arts, the way it's depicted in the movies. So what do you two, what do you look forward to now in your training? What's your development? What's your next step? Or have you reached the pinnacle and that's that?
Well, for that question, the pinnacle is not necessarily reachable in lifetime. It is usually that self-actualization that comes with the pinnacle is usually something to strive for, but not necessarily something that you could get to within a lifetime. So the whole idea, the basis of this is to build your character even better each day. And you produce through your students what you want your character to look like in a younger person. That means you teach them so that they could go out and extend the warmth, the discipline, and the other feelings that you want to transcend to the world. So at this level, or the master level in general, what it means is that you are able to train instructors to become teachers, to continue the trend of transferring the information the right way and developing the right character in every student.
And you, I don't see that often. I mean, I'm glad to hear it, and I mean, I know you guys, but I don't see that often, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right, I see it.
And that is why, like you said, the martial arts, if it was just the martial side of it, which is most of what is happening now, is chaos and people always fighting, both psychologically and mentally and physically. The whole idea here is you have to develop a lifestyle that is going towards the best you can. It don't have to have benefits like outward benefits or tangible benefits, but it has to have a self-worth, that you have done what you're supposed to do as a master, to spread the feeling of love, unity, and give each person a route to self-actualization.
Character building. That's a wonderful. I would like to see more of that in every regard in society, and I think that it would pick us all up. I see too much emphasis on the violence. I see too much glorification of the physical aspects of it. I see almost too much glorification of the absurd, things that can't really even be done. But people are led to believe that that's even possible in the movies and things like that. I think there's a disconnection now between reality and the fantasy, that the media is so powerful, and that a lot of people only get their experience from watching others on the screen. And I think that it would be a better place if people could actually train authentically and see what it does to your spirit, see what your spirit has to, what it requires to actually become a master, and what it requires to actually pick yourself up in pretty much any discipline, to tell you the truth, because I think they're all disciplines that require the same thing, I really do. I don't, if you want to be an engineer and you want to master that, I see the same kind of heart that you have to have. You're going to have difficulties along the way, and you have to kind of steel yourself to.
And one more thing I want to add to that is when I came here from Jamaica as a martial artist, I thought I was really good.
Okay.
And so just being out there with other martial artists to size yourself up. But then when you try to find somewhere to train, to elevate yourself, it's very hard. The search is very hard, because very few martial artists out there are really true martial artists. And so that I had to search deep and wide. So when I found Professor Duncan, it was like, I'm in heaven. This is where I'm staying.
Well, what was it about his training that you found was different or elevated your own?
Well, at the time we were doing a lot of, fighting, contact fighting, and what he was doing at the time was more realistic in the ninjutsu, jiu-jitsu, the weaponry and stuff like that other people wasn't displaying. They were most people were showing how to use weapons, but
I see.
in a flowery way.
Right, not
the
movies.
Proper use
Sure.
of the weapon.
Sure.
And when you see somebody that could really use the weapon and teach you how to use it, in a way that is practical, then you know for sure that, this is what I want to do.
But see, there would be an argument that why would you want to develop your skills in weapons that are deadly and things like that? How does that develop character? You know, would be people who would ask and say, well, oh my goodness, you're getting better, you're getting proficient in how to do people in. How does that make you a better person? What aspect of that is good?
Well, it's just like I watched a documentary on how the Japanese do their bow.
Sure. Archery.
And how they develop their own character and it's the spiritual aspect of stuff. It's just the same thing with all the weapons. You got to get into the movements and get into yourself, and by doing so, you are tuning yourself. It's like you going into self and learning how to be in touch with oneself.
Okay, the idea of weapons is looked at in the wrong light. You know, when you think of weaponry in the martial arts, you don't think of the destruction that they could do.
Okay.
You think of the skill that you attain to wield the weapon a certain way with a certain finesse, a certain religion on it. It becomes a part of you. That means you can get up and you want to relax and you go and you start wielding whatever weapon it is and you're doing a form with the weapon, and then you get this sense of inner peace with the weapon. So if you look at the weapons this way, because some of these weapons are, if you want to call them medieval, they're old, but the idea to attain one of them and be able to use it, the whole psychological feeling of being able to do it and do it well, and within yourself know that you're doing it the right way, means you have to study the history of the weapon. You got to study the basic moves that entails weapon. You have to do it the right forms that are designed by the people who have brought the weapon down through the ages. Then you have to make a form within yourself now and develop your own style on it and take it to make it yours.
Well, I'm gonna jump in and say that I found what training with weaponry did for me is that it basically opens up the possibility of manipulating anything. Like I look at them, I don't even call them weapons, like tools. Because really, there's no difference between manipulation of, you know, a plate in your hand in the kitchen. I always feel like when I'm cooking, I tell my students, if you really have it, the affinity for these things, you'll be in the kitchen cooking and you're moving around and you're shifting and you're moving and you're doing it and you're doing the forms. You know, something may fall and you have it.
Yeah, you're one with it.
Right, and I feel that is the true power of practicing these systems, is more the everyday, how it safeguards us. I've had 2 neighbors recently that have shattered their ankles, if you're watching. 2 of them, and both of them had happened in their homes. They weren't doing anything particular. One of them was doing the laundry in a home that she's been in for I don't know how many years. Another one was slipped on some water in her own kitchen in her own home. And she didn't just break it, she shattered it. And the awareness and the ability, the agility, and the things and the interaction, the understanding of how to move in an environment, and actually the understanding of the textures of the environments that we move in, I think comes all from the training that we do. Particularly with the ninjutsu aspect, it teaches us how to utilize the environment. To me, it's harmony, really. That's why I call my particular system the way of harmony. Because really what I'm trying to do, way of body harmony, is to try and harmonize with myself first, and then resonate with other things as well. Because to me, if you're really harmonizing inside, then you should be more harmony with things that, you know, are coming. You step outside and car door opens and you shift, you move, you blend. You know,
and it's the same thing that most of what we're talking about is Oriental arts in total, in a nutshell. And they talk about the harmony of the elements. Each element is transformed into the next one from some way, somehow.
And if you transformative cycle.
Right. So if you could make your life be in such a state of transformation each time that there's always a balance. Something is wrong, then something good balances that out. If you can ascertain that level, which is a master's level in some thoughts, that you can make a bad thing become a learning curve for a good thing in life. You know, that's where the martial arts comes in, to teach you how to do that. And believe me, some of these weapons that we're so-called calling tools, and we could call them anything you want, the idea behind learning how to use it can be so humbling.
True.
That you learn more from trying to do it other than being able to do it. You know, what you take away from the whole exercise is much more than being able to actually do it and do it efficiently.
But that is a huge point, because a lot of times when I'm teaching students, we're talking about exercise, basic exercise, which when I say basic doesn't mean it's easy. We all know the basics aren't easy. The basics is just what comes before the rest. And you often see people struggling to attain something. They're really so concerned with the finished product. They skip right over the process. And I say to people with exercise like rolling up and down, you know, you're trying to roll up from the floor, you're trying to roll down. Working to get through the difficulty so that they can get stronger. They want to manipulate their bodies, move faster, do anything they can to get past that point. And so that weak spot will always remain weak, and it's hard to convey sometimes how important it is to stay in the process and concentrate on where you are now